at the Houston SPCA. The campus for all is Dr. Roberta Westbrook. I'm the chief veterinarian here. And right now I have such a sweetheart with me. I want to introduce you guys to my friend Amigo. Hi, Amigo.
Oh,
look
Amigo.
How handsome Amigo is. Amigo is about a 1 to 2 year old adult male German Shepherd mix. Look how sweet he is and how gentle he is taking these treats. Amigo is looking for his forever home. He has a lot of energy. He would be perfect for a family that wants to take him on hikes or runs. Lots of energy, but look how gentle he is. He's very sweet, and he has a side to him where he just wants to be a lap dog. If I sit here for any length of time, he'll just plant his little butt right in my lap. So he's a great, great dog for someone. Please come down and visit our campus. No appointments are necessary. Come on in. We have face masks required, but come on in and see all the dogs and cats and puppies and kittens that we have available. Amigo's very, very sweet. So come visit him. Isn't he a handsome boy? So thanks again for joining us today. I'm really excited because we are going to talk about some of the things to keep your pet safe when it comes to treats and things that you want to feed them. We all have pets who love to look at us in our faces while we're eating, and our pets love to sit at the table with us. Human foods that we try to feed our pets. We don't want to give them anything that could cause serious harm or injury. And so we're just going to go over a couple of things. I mean, I could talk a long time about all the things that we need to keep our pets away from, but I'm going to show you some highlights today, some of the things that I really want you to avoid for your pets, and maybe give you some alternatives. If you can't give this, what can you give? So start thinking about different types of foods that you're wondering if it's safe to give your pets. And in the meantime, I'll start showing you some of the things that we have for you, and I'll hopefully be able to answer some of your questions today to give you a little bit more information. So as Amigo hangs out, getting lots of love today from our staff and friends, I'm going to talk to you about some of the toxic foods that we want you to stay away from for your pets. So let's talk about the thing that's probably the most common that everybody knows, even if you don't have a pet. You probably know that your pet, your dog, and your cat should not eat chocolate. We've all heard that before. We all know that chocolate can be toxic to pets. And that's because chocolate acts kind of like caffeine. And one of the toxic ingredients in chocolate can actually cause tremors, increased heart rate, increased respiratory rate. It actually acts like an overdose of caffeine in our pets, and it can be potentially fatal. But there's something that I want to make absolutely clear to you. It does matter the type of chocolate. And so a general rule is the darker the chocolate, the more toxic it is. You want to stay away from dark chocolate, baker's chocolate, the unsweetened bitter type. That's going to be the most toxic for your pets. So stay away from that. So I have an example here. This is baker's chocolate, the really dark chocolate, the kind that we wouldn't even want to eat because it's so bitter. This is going to be toxic to your pet. However, let's say, in the holidays, we just had 4th of July, upcoming is going to be Halloween. Sometimes you have a lot of milk chocolates around, a lot of candy around. Well, the milk chocolate still can be toxic, but it's certainly much more related to volume, how much of that milk chocolate. And we calculate that based on your pet's size. And so if your pet eats maybe 1 or 2 M&Ms, that may not be the same as if they ate an entire chocolate bar. And so if you think your pet has gotten into chocolate, you need to make sure you contact your veterinarian right away and tell them what type of chocolate it is, how much you think your pet ate, and approximately the size of your pet in pounds. If you can tell them how much your pet weighs, your veterinarian will be it'll be easier for your veterinarian to tell whether or not your pet has reached the toxic limit for chocolate. Okay, so there we go with chocolate. That's a little rundown. Does anybody have any questions about anything?
Yes. So Joe was wondering, and she says this might be a weird question, but can a dog get sick from cat treats, and the other way around? Can a cat get sick if they ingest dog treats?
That's a great question. So in general, a lot of the ingredients in dog and cat treats are the same. Probably what I would be careful about is anytime you're introducing a new treat to your pet, there's the potential for GI upset. And so one or two treats that are marketed for a dog given to a cat are probably not going to be toxic, and vice versa. If a cat eats a dog treat because it's targeted toward a dog, probably not going to be toxic. But diets, for example, long term, the vitamin and mineral content may be different because dogs and cats are different. And so I'd be careful about feeding a diet long term from one species to the next. But the occasional treat that's marketed for a dog given to a cat or vice versa is probably going to be safe. But any new treat that you introduce to your pet potentially could cause GI upset. Just be careful about it. What else can I help you with?
So Robbie was wondering, her dog did get into some dark chocolate. At this point, nothing happened, or at least she didn't know anything happened. So should you still be concerned? Like, should she still worry about that?
Yeah, so it depends on when. So within a few hours, within 2 to 4 hours, you could notice that your dog starts to have tremors or hypersalivate or have vomiting or diarrhea. And so I would look for those things right away. If it's been sooner than that, you can actually take your pet to the veterinarian, and depending on how much your pet ingested, your veterinarian may opt to give your pet medication to vomit that chocolate up. So it depends on how much and how long it's been. If it's been short enough time period, call your veterinarian, keep them under observation, and you can look for those clinical signs. If it's been days, I don't think I would worry about it.
Does the size of the dog matter?
The size of the dog absolutely matters when it comes to most toxic foods because it's dose dependent. So even with chocolate, if you think your pet has gotten into chocolate, contact your veterinarian right away. Let them know the size of your dog, what type of chocolate it is. Is it milk chocolate or dark chocolate? And the amount that you think your pet got into, because we can do a mathematical calculation and we can try to tell you a little bit more information about whether your pet has reached the toxic limit. Great question. So if you are wondering about other toxic foods, something that we love to cook with. Those of you guys that are in the kitchen all the time, cooking, making all kinds of delicious meals, you probably use a lot of onion and a lot of garlic. Dangerous for pets. Please make sure that you don't feed your dog or even cat foods that have onions and garlic in these. These can actually affect the red blood cells in your pet and actually cause them not to be able to carry oxygen in their blood appropriately. So this can be very dangerous and potentially fatal. Stay away from things like onions and garlic. What other questions can I help you with?
Yeah, so Patrick was wondering, oftentimes he eats a lot of onions, and he says they mince a lot of onions and mix it in with ground beef, rice, and a lot. Is it okay to go ahead and give your pet, the tiny bits of onions that have mixed in with other food?
I would not. It's still dangerous. I wouldn't. If you are trying to give your pet a little treat, maybe want to give them a little meat, and you aren't sure what's in it. Maybe you got it from a restaurant or a store. I would just avoid it. Just rather to be safe than sorry. There's certainly other things, the fat content that can affect your pet's GI tract. So other things that you can do that are safe. You can ground up turkey or chicken. You can use those meats very safely and give those to your pet, but don't put any seasoning on it. So I can give my pet, and I have given my pet, slices of fresh turkey or chicken breasts that are cooked with no seasoning. And I think those things in moderation can be safe. But if you're not sure what's in it, don't use it.
Jamie wants to know, is watermelon safe?
Oh, that's a great question. Yes, watermelon is a safe fruit. So watermelon and banana, those can be safe for your pets if they'll eat them. So yes, absolutely. If your dog or cat will eat watermelon, perfectly fine. So yes, have those. You can also try some vegetables.
That's what Gen V just asked.
Oh, wonderful.
Great.
What if you want to try some alternative treats? If you're eating vegetables and you haven't maybe flavored your vegetables with anything like a lot of fat or garlic or onions, fresh vegetables are wonderful. Carrots and broccoli and even green beans. These can be very healthy for your pets. They can even be really good fillers. So what if you have a pet that needs to lose weight and you're wondering, I want to give my pet some treats, but I don't want to give them the treats that are high in calories? Veggies, just like us, snack on these. Lots of pets like these. Great alternative to kind of the more fatty foods.
Mecca wanted to know, even if she gives her dog some foods that are safe, how much is enough?
Oh, great question. Or maybe how much is too much if you want to give. So this, I mentioned before, any sudden change in your pet's diet has the potential to cause some GI upset. So anytime you're introducing a new food, do it very gradually, just to give them a few morsels at a time, maybe a tablespoon or less, once or twice a day. And you can do that a couple of times a week to make sure you don't see any changes in their gastrointestinal habits. No vomiting, diarrhea, increasing gas. And then as long as they're tolerating it well, you can put that as part of a regular treat in their diet. Yes, great question.
So Sullivan was wondering about alcoholic beverages. Is it safe if, say, that you just happen to have it, they have access to it? Is a little bit okay? Should she be worried if her dog gets into her Bud Light?
Yes, I'd be careful about the alcoholic beverages. So yes, you might be enjoying a weekend game or something, a sports game, and your pets may be interested in some of the beverages that you're drinking, but I would steer clear of that. Again, certainly can cause some GI upset and even cause them to be a little bit ataxic. Some like what we would feel like if we drank a little bit too much. And so we don't want our pets to have to experience that. And I would stay away from any alcoholic beverages. So while we're talking about beverages, let's stay away from coffee as well. So coffee, if your pet is interested in your cup of coffee in the morning, or you accidentally drop the cup of coffee, your pet's licking it up. We mentioned dark chocolate before and how it's the caffeine that can lead to those toxicities. Well, it's the same thing about coffee. You don't want them to get in your coffee because it's like a stimulant for them. So it can affect the heart, it can affect their salivation, it can affect their motor function. It's a stimulant, and we don't want that for our pets. So as we're talking about drinks, no alcohol, no coffee. What else do you have questions about?
So Julie was wondering, she noticed that you were talking about like watermelon is a fruit,
Yes.
or it's fruit-like. What about raisins? Because raisins are fruit, and so are grapes.
Great question. So you may have heard this in the last several years, that grapes and raisins are toxic to pets, and they are. And for a while, it was really a mystery because we didn't know, the veterinary community didn't know how many grapes or raisins would be toxic. We didn't even know whether every pet would experience adverse clinical signs if they ingested grapes and raisins. So if you have grapes or raisins in your house and you're snacking on these, avoid these for your pet. So what grapes and raisins do is that they can cause kidney failure. And we still are not certain how many grapes or raisins per pet may cause the kidney failure. So it's best just to stay away from it. There are other safer alternatives like the banana that you can feed your pet, but these can be toxic. Stay away from grapes and raisins. Great question. Kidney failure. We don't want to do this.
Shelley was wondering about dairy, and sometimes, I know me personally, my dog sometimes tries to drink milk.
Yep.
Is that dangerous?
Yes, such a good question, because we drink milk, and milk is thought to be very healthy. And it's not so much that milk is toxic, but digesting the milk for dogs and cats can cause gastrointestinal upset. So we might think that they would be able to digest cow's milk very readily, but in reality, digesting the cow's milk is actually harder on their gastrointestinal tract, and it can lead to diarrhea, vomiting, and just overall GI upset. So we actually don't recommend cow's milk. But you can go to the store and you can buy puppy or kitten milk if you have a young dog or cat that you want to have a milk replacer.
Well, good follow-up. Jen was wondering, what about cats?
Absolutely. Cats, the same thing. We see pictures all the time, right? We grew up seeing cats drink out of a saucer of milk. And it's great. Cats love it. Dogs love it. But it certainly can cause diarrhea in some animals. So again, not like a toxicity that we think is going to be fatal, but can cause diarrhea, and they just don't digest it well, not as well as we think they would. So I would use a specific dog or cat milk replacer, puppy and kitten milk replacer. You can get them at your local pet store. You can get it at Walmart. That would be safer than cow's milk.
Okay, one last question. Michael wanted to know about the nuts and the avocados.
Great question. So we're, again, common snack food, right? Avocados, nuts. So we have to be careful about avocados. Particularly, there's two things about avocados. One thing is there is a chemical in avocados that can cause serious GI upset and cause weakness in our pets. They can be, we call it ataxia, but they can be kind of weak in the rear limbs and have vomiting and diarrhea. But remember, in the middle of this avocado is a large pit, a large seed. And if they ingest that, it can actually become a foreign body. So they won't be able to digest it. And now they'll have a large avocado pit in their stomach that they may have to have removed surgically. So I would stay away from avocados. Nuts as well, macadamia nuts, pistachios. These are more likely to cause GI upset, again, because they're difficult to digest. So when you're eating nuts, not so much that they are toxic and fatal, but causing vomiting and diarrhea is very common for macadamia nuts and pistachios and some other nuts like walnuts. So just avoid or limit these to just one or two.
We got one last question before we got to go, Dr. Westbrook. What about apples?
Yes, absolutely. So the flesh of the apple is okay. The seeds of the apple are not. So if you are going to feed your pet apples, just make sure you cut it. You can give them the flesh. You can give them the flesh of the apple. Stay away from the seeds. The seeds are the toxic part of apples.
All right, that's it. We got to go.
Thank you guys so much for joining me. I know that was quick, but those are some little tips that you can take home and keep your pets safe. Thank you so much. We will see you next week, Friday at 12:30. But between now and then, come on down. It's the weekend. Come to the campus for all animals. See what kind of animals we have here that you can take home with you and make part of your permanent family. Hope Amigo finds a home soon, and we'll see you next week.